Good evening, everyone. My name is Adeep Premji, and I'm a member of the IBNG committee under the Aga Khan Economic Planning Board for the UAE region. On behalf of the chairman and the IBNG committee, I would like to welcome you all today and thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be with us. Are you an SME looking to leverage on e-commerce? This webinar will cover how the e-commerce industry is rapidly changing and how SMEs can evolve to benefit from this. Please note that the views and opinions expressed by our panelists are their personal views and not of any firm or institution. The agenda for today's webinar will include presentations by the panelists, followed by a question and answer session. We urge everyone to use the Q&A tab on your screen to send in all your questions. We will try our best to answer as many questions as possible, time and relevance permitting. Thank you all once again for joining us today. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our two panelists for today. Our first panelist, Cid Josh Nany. Cid is the founder of Momentum Inbound Marketing. Cid holds a BSc in Computer Science from the University of Texas in Austin and is an active member of the Texas XCs and the Entrepreneurs Organization EO. Currently based in Dubai, Cid has lived in Austin, Portland, Aarhus, Mumbai, and New Delhi. Cid leads an energetic team of creative designers, art directors, web developers, social media and PPC consultants, account managers, and copywriters based in 5 countries. Our second panelist, Mateen Premji. Mateen is a civil engineer graduate from Cardiff University, UK, with a diploma in international hospitality operations from the Emirates Academy, Dubai. At the age of 23, he became an entrepreneur and co-founded a successful telecommunications business, Sawa International, in the UAE. Subsequently, Mateen founded Coltronics Contact and Training Center, a contact center and business process solutions provider based out of the East and Central Africa region. I will now hand over to our industry experts. Cid, over to you.
Thanks for the introduction. I'll share my screen, Adeep, if you can unshare yours. Thank you. Great. Thank you for having me on this webinar. I hope we can add some good value to everyone attending. Adeep did introduce me and I run a performance marketing firm, currently managing over $5 million of ad revenue. I am a marketing consultant to global brands like Herman Miller, Cooker, and Principal Financial in the US. And I also work with some local brands in the Middle East. So why are we here today? We're talking about e-commerce, and e-commerce is not really too much different from an offline business. And I'll introduce as to this simple concept of the stark similarity, actually. And I've kind of broken it down as to where we stand offline versus online. So, I mean, like a shop or a store that you have has a street address, that's equivalent to a domain name in the online world. If you have a piece of real estate where your store, where you operate your store, that real estate is equivalent to your website. And all the bells and whistles that you do inside your store make it beautiful, your interior design, that's the code that you write for your website. That's the HTML and the CSS and the JavaScript that you do. Your job as a store owner is to drive traffic to your store. And in the online world, that's SEO, or people typing in Google and discovering your shop and coming to your store. High street can also be compared to social media because that's where all the buzz is, that you're posting stuff and trying to, again, increase brand awareness of your brand or your product. So that's it's very similar. And in the offline world, we always talk about location, location, location. I mean, that's been the mantra in general for retail worldwide. And, you know, similarly in the online world, it's about the content that you have. Your content is extremely powerful because today people are searching Google and all the websites out there to find information to help them. And if your content stands out and people discover your content and eventually your website, that's the first step in your funnel. As in, that's where people know more about you and they can discover your products and services to see if that can solve their problem. That's how discovery is done. Now, that's in a nutshell about what is e-commerce. It's your way of selling online. And why are we talking about e-commerce today? E-commerce has been there for a long, long time. I remember back when I was in the US in '98, I bought my first textbook on Amazon. And more than 22 years later, I'm still talking about e-commerce. And the current situation, COVID-19, has really accelerated whatever we've achieved so far. And in my, this is an assumption I'm making, this will accelerate us in adopting e-commerce, much, much faster. And some experts say that it might have taken 10 years to achieve what we will achieve in the next 6 months. So this e-commerce is going to be the center of the strategy in retail going forward. And some people talk about, do I completely go online or do I combine offline and online? So combining the offline and online is the hybrid e-commerce approach. That means a Walmart has a store and they also have online sales. So they're combining and using that same inventory to be sold in multiple channels. And Mateen will talk more about omni-channel retail in general in the next presentation. But I'm just giving a quick overview about it, that there are multiple models which exist. Most businesses which are not online today are purely offline businesses, and they expect customers to walk in, buy, purchase, and go back. So the first natural step for such businesses is to be a hybrid retailer or a hybrid shop. Some new businesses which are starting out completely want to be online because they don't want to deal with the real estate, the rent, and all the overheads that come with having a physical brick and mortar store. So the decision that you would look at is, do I completely go online for a new venture? Or if I have an existing venture, how can I take it online to complement my offline sale? And if anyone has questions while I'm speaking, please put the questions in the Q&A chat. And when we're at the end of the topic today, we will be able to answer those questions. So, I want you guys to be more engaged about it because we are here to help you. So would appreciate any questions, as simple or complicated as you guys feel like. No question is a simple or an easy question. So please put it out there. So a lot of my clients ask, when is the right time to start e-commerce? And they've been asking this to me for more than 5 years since I've been doing performance marketing. And a lot of them called me back recently and they asked me, is this the right time to start? Do I invest that money in going online? And my answer is simply, you guys are 5 years too late, but today is the right time. Tonight is the right time to start going online, or at least start thinking about it, start planning about it. And how do we go online? And before I get into that, this is just a quick snapshot. So the worldwide e-commerce market is about $3.5 trillion US dollars. And that's approximately about 18% of the global share. So that approximately gives you about, I think 29 trillion or something is the total retail market size. And what we are saying is that e-commerce is growing really fast, and offline retail is actually not growing, it's stagnating, it's actually falling. So at some point in time in the future, the online retail would either be equivalent or more than the offline sale. And most of the people that are out there will usually be in a hybrid model. You look at Target, you look at Walmart and all these other guys, they're all going for a hybrid approach. Even a pure online shop like Amazon is now going in brick and mortar with Amazon Go stores. So there is this from one side, the hybrid model is what I'm expecting here to stay in the long term. And the question is, how do we get started? A lot of business owners ask me, it's a nightmare. We speak to agencies, it's going to cost so much money. We don't have that kind of budget. And I'm here to dismiss all those myths, because you can get started e-commerce on a very small budget. I mean, it can be as low as $50 a month to as high as $50,000 a month. It depends on what you want. But you can even get started for free, frankly, if you ask me. And I want to share some of the ideas and ways that you can get started. So the first way, obviously, is you want a presence on online on the internet. That is through a online shopping store. One of the recommended products that I use for a lot of my clients is Shopify. Again, Mateen will cover much more into detail as to how to use this and how to he'll give you an overview about this. Everyone's familiar with WhatsApp. WhatsApp is an essential part of our way of communicating with everyone, including family and business now. And today you can actually go create a business catalog on WhatsApp and start selling. A lot of people don't know that Instagram in most countries has an online shop. That means the regular Instagram app that you use to put your vacation holidays is the same app that your business can use to sell products. And I'll show you some screenshots as to what people have done, and this might just inspire you to explore this a little further. And again, all I'm saying is you can get started on e-commerce at a budget. You don't have to wait for any enabler. You can just do it all by yourself. This is like a quick screen grab of Shopify. I mean, this is, I was setting this up for a client 2 weeks ago. It's a furniture store. I mean, and Mateen will cover this much more in detail. It's so simple that, I mean, everything from your orders to all your products, your customers, all your marketing can be handled out of this one app. And I think it costs about $29, $30 a month to begin with. So this is the simplest way to get started if you want to have an online store. You can go online as quickly as in a week's time if you have everything set up. And sometimes it might take longer if you have a lot of inventory. Now, for most people, most small businesses, WhatsApp is a great platform to start promoting their products. This is actually a screen grab from WhatsApp's website. There is a WhatsApp business account that all of you guys can sign up for. And it has a different app which you can download on your Android or your iPhone. And you can actually set up your catalog on that app. That means you can have a brief description about your business, all the addresses, numbers, what time you open. And if a customer reaches out to you on that app, you can actually share the product to the customer on the app. And they can even make a purchase for this. Now, how do they make the purchase is they can even click on it. In some countries, WhatsApp is experimenting WhatsApp and Facebook payments. And very soon you can expect to even actually get paid over WhatsApp in most of the countries, pending the regulatory approvals. So WhatsApp is a great way. It's transforming the way we actually do business. We were using it to send catalogs and pictures, but now we can even do transactions on it. And the next one is obviously Instagram. This is how Instagram shopping looks like. You post this fancy picture, and if you're selling that trench coat, you can actually tag it. And you can actually click on it and eventually go to a store and buy it. So this is an amazing discovery platform. You could do it as a regular post. You can even run stories where, in this case, someone's selling the sunglasses. You can actually click on it and actually go to the store to purchase it. So these platforms actually don't cost any money. You don't need any enabler. These are the common tools which you use on a regular basis. So it's something which any layman or anyone who's even not technically skilled can actually start rolling out immediately. I'm going to quickly, okay, for some people who say, like, for example, the restaurant business or someone who's just trading into some products and they don't want to take this plunge or they don't want to worry about creating an online store, Amazon's out there, Deliveroo for the F&B guys, even though I've heard recently that Deliveroo is charging a lot of commission. But I mean, there are multiple aggregators. You can actually join the party and also be part of this network. So this is another channel in the omni-channel strategy. So imagine you have a store which is selling online, you're using WhatsApp, and you're also promoting your products on Instagram where people can actually purchase it. And also at the same time, that same inventory which is sitting with you can also be sold on Amazon. And you have this one app, which is either Shopify or something, which is running the entire business. So, and it doesn't cost a fortune to get started. And you can start with any one of these tools. And if you see traction in your business, you can keep expanding. But I would urge you guys to start small, pick something which you know, a WhatsApp or an Instagram, and you can start selling immediately. So I'm quickly going to touch on these 9 trends in e-commerce, and Mateen is going to do a much more detailed talk about this. This is what I'm seeing online based on my experience. There's a lot of private label brands are coming to market. So it's the manufacturer which makes the detergent for Unilever is coming to market directly now. So it's direct to consumer. You want to cut the brand and be present in front of the consumer. Mobile commerce, as I spoke about, WhatsApp, WeChat in China, everyone knows that's a complete ecosystem by itself. There is a lot of automation and AI which is happening, where once you enter a website, people know that it's you, and then the products are tailored for you. It's like, when you go to Netflix, you see recommendations for you. That's AI. And similarly, Amazon does that. So that's a big trend. Some other trends that I see is a lot of native digital brands are actually going offline. So that's the hybrid approach I spoke to you about. People go for pop-up shops. Amazon is experimenting with their own 7-Eleven type of concept, which is completely automated and not manned at all. People are talking about 4-hour delivery times because it's the instant gratification that we need in shopping. Niche retail is going to thrive. I mean, you must, if you've not heard, there was a company called a Dollar Shaving Club, which recently got sold to Gillette, or I think the parent brand. And they sold for a gazillion dollars. I mean, I don't exactly remember the number, but they made a fortune essentially just by selling razors on a subscription. So, and this is another trend that I'm seeing, is that niche retail is going to thrive. So if you have a product which is niche, has a smaller audience, go online. You will get a bigger audience because there's everyone in the world looking for that niche product. Some other topics, augmented reality and virtual reality is going to step in. It's about getting those digital experiences in real life, specifically for retail and for interior and home improvement brands. This is amazing. I've got a client who sells taps, and now they can actually show how the tap looks like once it's installed in someone's house, all through an app. Voice search is coming in a big way. I mean, it's about buying tickets online or finding the nearest store to your house. It's just the user behavior that's changing. Everyone watches Netflix these days, and we are the target essentially. So whatever we are watching, our habits are being cultivated online, and we will be marketed on streaming TV in the next few months. I'm pretty sure Netflix is already experimenting this in Canada, last I heard. So that's in a nutshell what I wanted to share. I know in 15 minutes, I just wanted to give you a quick overview as to what's going on in the world. Where are you and what you can do? Adib, I think I've run out of time. So I'll stop sharing, and I'll request Mateen to take over so he can start with his presentation. Thank you. And I look forward to the questions which are going to come soon.
Thank you very much. My name, I'll be taking you through the various functions, looking through the journey. So to start off, a quick introduction about myself. I of Sawa International, or rather I am. Sawa essentially which is predominantly sales-based. So we had to find very innovative ways to try and get the products out there to the market. And then I moved about 3 years ago back to Kenya to start a contact center. And why it's a contact center, and I'll tell you a bit about the omni-channel solutions that you could sort of implement within e-commerce. But essentially, we cater to clients like Carrefour, Twiga Foods, varying industries that has allowed me to gain great learnings from how different industries function from a business process perspective. So we can just proceed to the next slide, please. Taking you through the trends of e-commerce. From a more tech part, we're looking at AI and chatbots that are coming into play. So when we talk about artificial intelligence, it definitely gives people an upper edge, seeing as artificial intelligence comes in from the perspective of predictive sales. So like Cid mentioned, recommending certain items and products to the customer that's visiting a website or a platform, to the point of warehousing, where robotics takes over the process of how to order your shelves. And then when we look at, and I'm not going to sort of go into a lot of depth in these categories, but when we look at the likes of augmented reality and virtual reality, augmented reality is a very interesting concept because it hasn't really picked off, but based on trends, it's something that will definitely come to the fore in the next year or two, whereby you're looking at a different customer experience when they visit your store. So it's a hybrid between, it combines digital elements within a live view of your products. And so when we go into what's more effective from a perspective of whether to put a picture or a video, as a product within your website, studies show that videos are more, generate 144% more sales than pictures, for example. So that's very key. When we look at voice integration, CCPA is a big one because a lot of sort of countries are moving into data protection and data rights for their customers. So when you are creating your e-commerce platform or website, you need to really consider what are the laws and the legal frameworks around creating the platform. So in the UAE, I believe at the moment they haven't sort of got the same or similar laws to the European Union, or CCPA stands for the California Consumer Privacy Act, which protects consumers based on what you can store as a company and how you process data. And then a very key trend, which we're seeing a lot now, is for B2B businesses, which is the punch-out e-commerce system. And so what that is it's essentially, it puts an online store inside a B2B customer's e-procurement system. So what we're seeing now is that, it's going into the integration of their, their back-end systems to be able to place orders in the front end, which is very interesting as a trend. But it's becoming, I think, a very, very important tool to have for B2B organizations, companies that deal with B2B. When we look at more, less of from a tech approach, and we look at the sales specific trends, we're looking at things like contextual commerce. So this implies understanding the context in which customers may discover the products, and giving them the possibility to buy right at the moment of discovery. So when I give you an example of a food retailer that can launch a YouTube cooking show and add a link to their store and to specific products of the recipe that they're showing. So it's very specific to a recipe. However, it allows the company to drive traffic to the e-commerce platform. So like Cid mentioned with InstaShop, it's a very similar concept. So that's contextual commerce from a trend perspective. Moving on to the functions of e-commerce. So what I'm going to do is I will take you through the sales process. And so when we look at how you set up an e-commerce platform, the first thing you need to consider is, what are your existing e-commerce, what do you have existing as e-commerce? So you're looking at how you stock your inventory, what inventory or products you want to list online and sell online, and that are able to then move on to priorities. So what do you want to push? And what is your edge? And then we look at setting up the e-commerce platform. You need to use a tool. My advice would be go for a tool that is existing and pre-existing, like Shopify or Wix stores, the ones that are listed on the presentation of the slide. So Cid touched on Shopify. I personally like using Shopify just because it's very user-friendly. I do not personally have a background in IT. I cannot develop or code, but it's very easy for me to use Shopify to set up an e-commerce platform. So just as Cid mentioned, it's very easy to do, to get online. To me, the real difficulty personally is how do you drive traffic to your site? And that's where I think things are sort of moving towards. So taking you through the functions, I'm going to take you through to the back end of Shopify. And what you see here is that Shopify combines all the facets of your business. So when you look at payment integrations of finance, you can, with a click of a button, link to several payment gateways that are available in the UAE. And then when you move into marketing, you can also market through the Shopify apps by linking Facebook, for instance, Instagram Shop, and you can do that all through Shopify. You don't need to leave Shopify to do that. When you look at your inventory management and fulfillment of orders, that all comes through to Shopify. So really speaking is, a lot of these functions that e-commerce entails can be found with a lot of these tools or platforms. So if you can kindly move on to the next slide, please. As mentioned before, it's an end-to-end solution. When we look at some of the functions that I haven't mentioned earlier, analytics is key. So when we look at how we can drive traffic and people coming into the platform, you're looking at analytics such as Google Analytics, which can be easily integrated or embedded within your e-commerce platform. Artificial intelligence may sound like a very difficult concept, but it exists, and there are companies that very easily plug into your e-commerce website and can immediately recommend certain products and give you the analytics to better understand what moves fast within your e-commerce platform. So taking you through some of these apps within the App Store, you're looking at things like that make you more productive within Shopify. So, there is another concept of e-commerce websites being very expensive. And like Cid mentioned, to set up is very easy. In fact, if you wanted to set up a Shopify website right now, you could do it for 90 days with a free trial, and there consequently you pay about $29 a month. So there's no harm in giving it a shot and trying it out. There is no doubt that e-commerce is the way to go for sort of medium and small businesses, or all businesses for that matter. When we look at the productivity of a website, the analytics is key, but you also have to look at the facet of marketing, and marketing is very, very key. Marketing can be expensive. So the best way I believe, and which is a trend, is coming together as communities. And we've done a similar case in Kenya. As the National Council within Kenya, we've set up a case study to enable us pilot how bringing together certain businesses within the community can benefit them. And we used Shopify to do this. When it comes to marketing, coming together and marketing one platform is a lot cheaper than doing it individually. So that's something to really consider. And I'll tell you, and I'll speak a bit more about the case study as we go on. Something that's very, very important, and we can move on to the next slide, is the omni-channel communication side. Reviews is a big thing. So how do we know as a company that my e-commerce website is successful? Of course, sales is a key indicator, but how do we ensure that we get people coming back to our website? Social media can drive traffic to you, and you do have certain technology to be able to let you know when someone has left it or dropped a cart. However, when someone does purchase an item from you, how do we ensure that they stay with us? So customer service is really key. as much as you can look at having an e-commerce platform, keeping a customer and keeping it very personal is very important. So how can you do that? Again, having reviews within your website or platform is very useful. You know, having other mediums of communication that are centralized within your business is also very good and very important. It also tells you about your pain points. So if someone is complaining about a certain product, you know, if you have 10 complaints of that specific product, you know that you can change your strategy as a business. This will help you to drive better relationships with your customer, of course. Integration of all these mediums of communications can be done through the various e-commerce tools as well. Of course, you know, you don't necessarily need to have a call center in-house, or rather outsource to a call center. You can have it in-house through technology within, you know, that's available very, very cheap. So one such technology that I know of and that we use is 3CX. I can name a few others, but 3CX, for example, is free for 3 years. If you leverage that technology, it can definitely give you a lot more accountability within your business. If we can kindly move on to the next slide, keeping in mind the time that I have. So I mentioned very briefly about Isoko. Isoko is a platform that we have built over the last 1 month. It's a concept that deals with caterers. It's in the food business. It's very specific to food at the moment. However, we are looking to leverage the technology into other lines of businesses. So what we've done here is we've brought you know, small and medium-sized businesses together, and it's enabled us to push. Although they're competitors, it brings a lot of traffic into the platform. So, you know, you may be wary about coming together as various businesses. However, there is a lot of benefit, because what we've seen is, you know, the likes of going into Amazon or, you know, Souk or for that matter, Noon, you will find that you are competing against other products. However, you know, if you have the ability to be within all these platforms, you have a better chance of being more successful. So I definitely believe, as a small and medium-sized business, try and set up a business on one of these tools, which enables you to be listed on Noon, to be listed on Amazon, and also come together as a community to build a platform and advertise and market it together. That's very key. When we look at Isoko has generated about $7,600 in the last month. What we've done is we've launched it in a very basic way. We've listed all the products. The pictures are not the greatest. However, the reason why it's successful is because it touches on a few concepts here. So one is the aspect of community support. Being able to leverage that is huge. The other aspect is we've been able to advertise through WhatsApp, focused on a few mediums of communication. So we know that a lot of people use WhatsApp, so we've sent out you know, communication through WhatsApp. Leveraging social media advertising is very big, because it allows us to reach out to a lot more people. Whereas if you have you know, a standalone billboard, the reach is not as huge as social media, as Cid would definitely tell you in his line of business. And to conclude, with Isoko, we found it to be a very successful model. One thing we have realized is that the quality really does make a difference, and being able to reach out to the customer and get customer engagement is also very crucial to the success of the project. So if we can kindly move on to conclude the presentation. In summary, I would say that e-commerce is very easy to achieve. Getting online is not difficult. It can be done by any one of us. The reality is, how do you drive traffic through to your e-commerce website and your platform? And that's where I feel, you know, in the UAE or wherever it may be, it's very expensive. So coming together is a very important way of doing that. but also being able to list your products seamlessly and easily within the likes of Amazon or third-party aggregators is also the way to go. Keeping in mind that these tools already have the latest technology and are developing the latest technology, so you can always add that on at very reasonable costs. The other aspect is try and make your e-commerce website very user-friendly and very quick. And I think, there's no reason why you can't be successful. So thank you very much for your time. And I hope I've sort of spent 15 minutes or haven't gone past that time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We would like to thank both of you for this very informative session. I do understand that the e-commerce space is vast and constantly changing. Your presentations have captured the key points very well and given us all some great insight. I can see that there already are some questions posted. And again, we encourage all the audience to send your questions through the Q&A tab. So let's get started with the Q&A session. We have the first question is how to identify people with digital skills with relevant skill set for back-end tech, content creators, presentation, and graphic designers. Better to go with an agency or freelancers?
I think I'll take that question because I am in the agency business. So yeah, always go with an agency. No, I'm just joking. So if you have a certain budget in place and if you have a marketing plan, and you're pretty sure what your target audience is, then I would explore an agency. If you're just starting out and you have a very small marketing budget, like for example, what does small mean? Small for us means that you're spending less than $10,000 a month. And in that case, I would not recommend going with an agency. I would look at certain freelancers. And with this COVID situation, there has been tons of freelancers who are available because people who are working have been made redundant. So a good platform to find those freelancers is definitely freelancer.com. And once you get a little more sophisticated, you could look at Upwork as well. The challenge that one faces is just managing the freelancers and setting the right expectations. So you have to exactly know what you expect from them. If you expect them to help you do wonders, it's not going to happen. So you have to give very specific, detailed instructions, and then you will get the output that you're looking for. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Cid. The next question, Mateen, maybe you can take this. Given the precarious retail business for most consumer goods, particularly low-end products, how does one plan to go online as a start with limited marketing budgets in these uncertain period?
So it is a very good question. I think, like I mentioned through the, during the presentation, it is expensive to market the products out there. I think the first thing is to realize that, the best way to do it is first of all, try and have an online presence. Try and reach out organically to your customers. I think if you are delivering a service, that is very customer-centric, that is also key to have good customer relationships and build on that. I think if someone is happy with you as with your service, they will definitely come back. However, the way to go with this is try and use third-party aggregators, and in addition to that, try to come together with under sort of industry players to make yourself more, to make your marketing budget more effective.
Thank you, Mateen. Cid, one for you.
Yeah, go for it.
For target market that is North America, should we hire Western talent who are more expensive or Indian talent less expensive?
again, depends on the type of business that you have. What I've experienced when I started out, and I was working and doing a lot of projects for companies in the UK and the US, I started out by hiring at least people who have lived in those countries and came back to India and the Middle East. Now there are tons of people who've actually studied in America and now work in the Middle East, or work in India or the Middle East. So I would even look at talent like that. And the other thing to look at is if you want to really explore the Western market, again, I would start with a bunch of freelancers who are based in the West, and then you can kind of learn the process and the workflows and eventually hire one of them if you see the output. So I wouldn't blindly go hiring people in the West. I would take this hybrid approach.
Cid, there's another question that's directed to you. How can we market our online store to create awareness and traffic? What are the tools available?
Okay, so to market, as Mateen also said, I mean, you can start out by promoting it organically, but if you really want to get maximum reach and you have a newer store which has less awareness in the market, then the best way to get started is through advertising. And when I say advertising, I mean online advertising. So on a limited budget, the first platform I would look at is Google Ads, Google Search. Google Search is when someone is looking for a product and they're searching for it, and that's when they can see your brand or your product right on top. The product for e-commerce is Google Shopping. So what it does is it allows your brand to come right at the top of Google Search, and people can click on it and obviously go to your platform to buy. So when people are using Google Search, the intent is very strong. That means they are looking and searching for something to buy. The other platform to complement Google is obviously Facebook. And there it is about discovery. So where people are browsing through something, they're not necessarily looking for your product. But because of their targeting and the interest, your product might show up in their feed as an ad. So complementing both these approaches is what I would recommend. And I would split the budget and test as to what is working for you and what is not, and then kind of just go deeper into each platform accordingly.
Thank you, Cid. Mateen, one for you. Is it better to have an e-commerce platform on your website or through Shopify?
I think personally, I would go through a tool like Shopify and not sort of develop my own website. And the reason being is there are a lot of integrations that are possible. It's very cost effective. It is affordable. And I think just purely for the reason that it integrates into all your functions when we look at e-commerce. So I would definitely recommend going with a tool like Shopify.
Thank you, Mateen. Cid, as you rightly said, content is king. How to identify people with the right skills?
I face that challenge even till today. And in my interviews, when I'm hiring content writers, the first thing I ask them to do is just explain to me why you want to work at my organization. And I make them write this live in front of me. And what I'm looking for is two things. A, you have to be a really good communicator, as in you should be able to speak proficiently in whatever language you're looking to hire for. And that's number one. And number two is the written content. And then I give a content writer a complicated content piece. So for example, a regular content writer doesn't know too much about genetics. So I would give them a small paper about genetics, and I would just tell them, what are the main points? Can you just summarize this for me quickly? And or just reword this. So I would use some of those tips to vet content writers. Also, one thing just to keep in mind is that sometimes you expect too much from content writers, and we tell them that, okay, just write something about VAT in Dubai. But actually, all the content is sitting with you as the expert. So what I urge you guys to do is record whatever ideas that you're getting on a voice recorder on your mobile or somewhere, and send those ideas to the content writer so they can actually use some of that content and actually come up with a piece. So this is very similar to like ghostwriting when you're writing a book or someone else is writing a book on your behalf. So it's same concept. You have to give the idea, you have to give the material, and they are just the ones who would polish it and put a nice bow around it.
Thank you, Cid. Mateen, one for you. We are holding a trading company for products of industrial equipments in the Middle East. How do we put these heavy equipments on e-commerce? As I understood, e-commerce is suitable for consumer products.
Sure, it's a good question. I think e-commerce is for everyone. When we look at B2B, and that I'm assuming is more B2B related, I think what you're looking at is leveraging the technology of like the punch out trend, which today, when we look at how we can leverage on that technology, you know, you're able to have your products listed within, you know, other businesses' systems. So procurement systems specifically. So being able to capitalize on certain technology like this is very useful. I think just listing the products on a website or on Shopify may not work and may not be as effective as using technology like Punchout. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Mateen. Cid, we have one question, which I think would be better suited for you. Please explain SEO, search engine optimization, and Google Ads. What is the difference?
Okay. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. That just means that once you make a website and you publish it, Google goes out and starts indexing all the websites which are out there on the internet. And it finds your website and indexes it, catalogs it in a particular way. And when you go to Google search and you type for, let's say, a Nike shoes, right? So naturally the first hit that you see or the first result that you see should be Nike, because you search for Nike shoes and you expect Google to give you the most relevant answer. Sometimes what you see is Adidas, right? And that's just counterproductive, counterintuitive. That's actually an advertisement. That's the Google ad, which is showing up. And so it's a paid ad. And what Adidas has done here is that, okay, if someone is searching for Nike shoes, let me show my ad because the person is my target market, right? So in that case, someone would put a Google ad. So Google ads are those search results which you pay for. And search engine is the organic results where you don't have to pay anything. You keep working on content and have the right set of keywords on your website so people can find you easily online. So that's the cheapest way to get traffic to your website, but it's also difficult because there's so much competition over each and every keyword and business now. So it just takes time to get really good in SEO. And as I said, content is king. If you write relevant content, which really helps people and your target market, you will definitely get higher in your search results for sure. But if you want to attack the market right now with a budget, I would go with Google Ads, because then you would start showing up at number 1, 2, or 3 in the search results, which are the sponsored results. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Cid. Mateen, there are a lot of stores online. How will people trust my website? Any tools to build trust?
So that is true. There are a lot of sites online, but let's remember that, you know, before e-commerce came about, we had obviously the offline model. I think having the e-commerce platform is very, very powerful just because of the reach. You're able to reach a lot more people. So I definitely believe it comes down to the marketing tools and how you drive traffic through to your e-commerce platform. Again, content is very key, and how you display your items on the website is very important. So using the tool effectively is also important. However, leveraging on that the technology of you know, the technologies that are out there like artificial intelligence and so on helps you to be more effective. However, marketing is key. So being able to spend on your marketing budget online will help you drive traffic.
Thank you. Cid, How do you go about figuring out which freelancer would be most effective at SEO? Is there any way to vet a freelancer's effectiveness when they claim they do SEO as well?
Yeah, so I mean, when I started, obviously I went through this process, and a lot of clients would ask me as well that, if we give you my SEO or our SEO business, how would you, what is the guarantee that you could get us higher? So in SEO, there are no guarantees. So first of all, if someone guarantees you that you will be number one in 1 week or 1 month, I would kind of stay away from such kind of SEO freelancers, because they would probably do more damage to your website than benefit. So how do you vet one? Is see the references that they've on the past projects that they worked on, and actually speak to the business owners. Get a reference for the person who owns that business, and speak to them about how did he handle the new keywords that you want to add to the system. How did he respond? What is his turnaround time? So when you put a query, does he take 24 hours? Does he take 4 hours? Because with a freelancer, you want someone to be very responsive. You don't want someone, responding in 2 days or, 24 hours. And obviously wean them off the freelancer platform. So if you're using Freelancer or Upwork, you should get some sort of a rapport built with them, so you can actually start chatting with them on WhatsApp. Even though make all the payments through the freelancer platform, because that guarantees the work. So I hope that helps in kind of vetting freelancers. That's what I did when I was doing this. Yeah.
Thank you, Cid. Mateen, which CRM system should we use for e-commerce?
Okay, that's great. I actually deal with a lot of CRM solutions out there. I've worked with several. I've worked with the likes of Salesforce, vTiger, Base CRM, Bittrex, you name it, whatever CRM is out there. And we've also customized our own CRMs. What I can tell you is the first thing before selecting a CRM is looking at how user-friendly it is. And then secondly, the tools that are available online, like Shopify and so on, if that's the avenue you decide to go with, they do actually integrate with CRMs. And it's not difficult to do in terms of the process of integrating. It's a seamless process. I would suggest that have a look at what CRMs are, they're able to integrate into first, and then go into depth as to how user-friendly the CRM is. Because some of these CRMs are very complex and robust, and have a lot of features that maybe you don't necessarily need. So that's how I would go about it.
Thank you. Cid, what are the license requirements and costs approximately for starting a small online business in UAE?
Okay, so from a licensing perspective, again, I'm not a lawyer or a registration agent, but from what I know in the market is today you can go to DED and get a license which allows you to operate an e-commerce business running from home. It obviously doesn't give you the visa and the other stuff that you get with the regular registration. So you can start out with a DED license. There are multiple categories. E-commerce is a category from what I understand. And the reason I know this is because I work with a lot of accounting companies here who are my clients, and we've marketed this in the past. And so it's pretty cheap. You can get started very quickly, and all you need is that home-based e-commerce license, and you can start selling immediately on Amazon by registering with Amazon, or you could even create your own online shop as we've spoken about today. So yeah. And from a cost perspective, I don't know exactly, but do check out the DED website, so the Dubai Economic Development website.
Thank you, Cid. We have another question that is talking, it's more general, but it'd be interesting to get both your views. So maybe I can start with you, Cid. Will e-commerce transactions increase post-coronavirus pandemic?
Again, I mean, this is just from what I'm hearing from a lot of peers and in a lot of the webinars, and personally what I'm seeing with some of my clientele is that the graph is it's growing exponentially because right now in this situation, obviously there is very little offline available except for some of the essential services. So online is growing. And it's just earlier there was friction for some people to adopt online. I think that was what was limiting online to grow. But I think people have overcome that friction now because there's no alternative, frankly. And going forward, once we emerge out of this crisis, I think e-commerce will just become the norm. And anyways, today, even if you buy something or you're looking to research something, you start your research online. If you're looking to buy a washing machine, you start research online, and then eventually you might go to a DG Sharaf or somewhere and buy it. But you do your comparison online. So this friction of actually purchasing it online, as some of you asked the questions about the trust and credibility, and once those are put to rest and there is that friction which is reduced, then it's going to grow rapidly. And I shared a chart as well where I said that offline retail is actually going down and online is growing up. And there will be a time, hopefully in the next 10 to 15 years, where online will overtake offline.
Martin, your thoughts, please?
Yeah, I think I would agree with Sid on that. I just would say that, when you looked at the trends prior to COVID hitting us, it was on an upward trajectory even then. So COVID has just sort of escalated that trend and increased e-commerce, in terms of the growth. I definitely feel and believe that e-commerce will continue to grow. And now people are used to using sort of e-commerce platforms. I think that should continue.
Thank you. Martin, while we have you, there's one question which would probably be suited for you. In the EU, the delivery is very expensive. There is a lot of food delivery services or aggregators out there, but not many for other products like shoes, for example. FedEx, DHL are very expensive. Any suggestions to build a delivery service?
It's a great question. I think when we look at e-commerce, one very important part of that is the delivery and the fulfillment of the orders. I truly believe that if you're looking to deliver certain products, there are a lot of delivery companies out there. There is also a way to tie up with these companies. The smaller companies, I would suggest. We've done that in Kenya as well. And I truly believe that you can get a very good rate per delivery for the fulfillment of the orders. So it's just a matter of tying up with the smaller companies rather than using the likes of DHL and Amazon to fulfill your orders. Look at working with on the ground logistics companies, and if it is a business that you would like to go into, I definitely think there is potential, but you also have to consider more on-demand logistics technology that you could implement to enable you to do that business.
Just to add on Matin's point, one of my clients' company is called One Click. They are an on-demand delivery provider for small businesses going e-commerce. So it's One Click. So just check it out. They're based in the UAE. So they exactly do what Matin just said. So.
Thank you. Sid, a question for you. Which performance marketing payment model would you recommend? Pay per sale, pay per lead, pay per download, pay per acquisition?
Okay, it's a very tough question. I would love to get paid per sales. A lot of my clients would actually go bankrupt if they do that. But the ideal way, the standard in this industry is pay per lead, or it can also be pay per acquisition. So when I say pay per acquisition, that means that you spend X amount of money on Google, and you're getting a lead at a certain cost. What we work with clients and what most agencies work with is a fixed retainer. And in that retainer, they give you X amount of services. Very few agencies would go and guarantee a pay-per-lead or would work on a pay-per-lead. Such models do exist in very transactional businesses, which are very consumer-centric, like insurance, where some people can actually give you a pay-per-lead, and they don't care about the quality of leads. So when you do stuff like that, it's the lead quality which matters and the monitoring of the lead. and how many leads qualify to actually become to sales, and how many are put in your nurture funnel. So there are multiple answers there. Again, depending on the industry that you are in, some of them might work actually. Yeah.
Thank you. We're running out of time, so and we have quite a few questions to go through. So I think we'll do 2 more questions. Mateen, one for you. Is there any certification program for e-commerce websites such as or equivalent to ISO or trust label of Alibaba Gold supplier?
I don't necessarily think so. I haven't interacted with that or with any or come across it. However, I think it's more data sensitivity. So when we look at in terms of standards, there are no specific standards out there. But what's more important to consider is the data security and the data laws in terms of the framework. I think what you're probably referring to is the how to sort of rate a website, and I think it's more customer driven rather than anything else. But I stand to be corrected there.
Cid, would you have anything to add on that?
When someone looks at a website, something like an Alibaba Gold label just gives the trust and credibility that one would expect, and it again reduces your friction to buy from that buyer. Something similar in e-commerce is people are concerned that if you make a payment online, do you actually get your product? So one way to look at is you should be doing cash on delivery, so people you remove one friction. The other way to look at is have PCI DSS certification, which is essentially your payment gateway. That means that the payments that you're making are actually secure. And most payment providers in the UAE, Payfort and the others already are PCI DSS certified. So if you put their logos at the bottom of your website, that kind of puts this concern to rest that you are a credible provider. And again, I think, as Mateen also mentioned, it's about getting testimonials and reviews on your website, which again builds this trust and credibility together with these certifications.
Thank you, Cid. Cid, last question for you. We're getting a lot of questions about the service industry. So, interior designers, contractors, teachers, what solutions are out there for the service industry?
Yes, so generally these industries are not transactional, and they generally provide services which are bespoke, where you would require a custom quote. So I would categorize them more in a, almost a B2B-ish kind of a platform. And what you would want to do is, again, have a website in place or have some sort of a presence in place where you are showing trust and credibility. So that means your past projects, if you work some big brands, you need to take permission from them, put their logos, get their testimonials on your website. Again, just telling people that you worked for big brands or you worked for some great projects. Put those pictures out there. Use Instagram, again, to promote what you've done, especially in the service industries. For teachers particularly, and my wife's a teacher, so I've been helping her market her stuff. What has worked for her is she's created a lot of online courses on platforms like Teachable, and there are 5 other or 10 other platforms where you can actually build your own courses and sell. Besides that, putting out some of the work that you guys are doing as teachers in this remote learning environment. So putting it out on LinkedIn, putting it out on Instagram has been, it's just gone viral actually for some of the teachers that I know of. So hopefully that answers some of the questions, guys.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I think we're out of time. So I would like to take the opportunity to say a big thank you to the panelists for their insights and expertise, to all our listeners and institutions for their participation and for coming together to support us in organizing this series. We do hope that the information presented will assist you in better handling and overcoming the challenges which you may be facing, and allow you to be better prepared for any opportunities that may arise. Please note that the views and opinions expressed by our panelists are their personal views and not of any firm or institution. The Economic Planning Board has put together resources and information which are available on the microsite. The microsite is regularly updated for the benefit of the community. Thank you very much for attending. Have a good evening. Stay home, stay safe.